What's up, guys? Quick update video. Very slow, boring day today. Let me just jump right into the video. I'm not going to drag this out. I'm going to try to get through this as quick as possible while touching on all the key points that I want to continue to touch on. So with that, starting with the macro on SPY, which is very, very bullish. Once again, descending broadening wedge, 1 year downtrend, broke out, retested again, confirmed, found a bounce, and now we're finding some upside. Found a new local high today, pushing that 430 resistance. Day 47 in a row, closing over the 200 EMA. I had to recount that because I was losing track. Golden cross on the daily, very, very bullish. This chart is extremely bullish. Fuck the news. Jumping into a different macro on SPY now, the 4 hour with extended hours. I've been touching on this in all of my previous videos, talking about the descending broadening wedge on SPY transitioning into an ascending triangle. Multiple rejection points on that 418 level. Oh my fucking god. Multiple rejection points on that 418 level. From the breakout of the descending broadening wedge, come down, retest again. Confirm the retest, reclaim the triangle, break out of the triangle, and today we came up to this 430 resistance, pretty much on the dot. This resistance I was talking about, found a rejection there. Short term, I'm looking bearish on SPY short term, probably for the next day or two. We'll see how it goes. Overhead resistances to look out for in the upcoming weeks would be 438, 450, 458, and 470. Overall, very, very bullish here. I think we're going to see some downside from here before we continue upward, and I'll jump into that now. I mentioned how this move on SPY is very symmetrical. Starting with the blue box here would be your middle, and then into the red, breaking below. There's a lot going on here, so I'm just going to break this down. This horizontal line at 380 right across, so the blue would be your middle. I mentioned that this break above was going to happen regardless to reject the macro. Into the red, breaking slightly below that horizontal line at 380, comes up to 418 on the dot, rejects there. On this side, same thing, comes down, breaks below the horizontal line at 380, comes up to 418 on the dot, rejects there. Into the green, from that 418 rejection, you come down, bounce perfectly on 380, same over here, and then from there, you find a bounce and a climb up to that 430 range. I touched on this. It's a very symmetrical move here. This bottoming action on SPY is very symmetrical. Descending broadening wedge, transitioning into an ascending triangle, and a very, very symmetrical move here. This looks very bullish. I mentioned the move is symmetrical and that we could expect chop in this area, rejecting off this 430 resistance for maybe a full week. As we saw back here, these circles are pretty much showing what I'm talking about here. Today, came up to this resistance, same as over here, and rejected right off of it and saw a downside pretty much for the rest of the day. I'm expecting that SPY is probably going to have a bloody day tomorrow, potentially filling the gap. There's an open gap at 420 and change, 422.50. 422.50, I believe, is the gap. So you have an open gap there. Maybe we don't fill it tomorrow. I'm still expecting downside regardless. And that's pretty much it. As I mentioned, we're probably going to be chopping in this range here for a little while, maybe a week, in between the previous resistance, now acting as support at 418, and our newly found resistance at 430. Probably going to be chopping up and down here in this range. Short term, bullish. I'm bullish, bearish. And by short term, I mean probably tomorrow, potentially Wednesday. I'm in puts right now myself. I bought them at the top when we got rejected off this trend because this move is playing out symmetrically. So I was expecting to reject there and find some more downside. That's what happened. Hoping to find more downside here tomorrow. Still bullish. You know, there's going to be pullbacks. It can't be green every day. So that's pretty much it for SPY. Jumping into this again, the market sync, SPY breaking both macro patterns to the upside, the descending broadening wedge retested here and came back above, so confirmed the retest of a year-long downtrend at descending broadening wedge, and then the ascending triangle that it transitioned into found a breakout of that as well. And then I mentioned potentially we could be coming back down to this 418 level to test here. I'm not completely convinced with this as being the retest here. I would not be surprised to come back down to 418 and shop in this range for some time before we break that 430 resistance and then start climbing towards that 450. Pretty much the point here being that the market is synced up. SPY has broken both macro patterns to the upside, as has AMC, as shown right here. So, and AMC is still in the retest. It's still holding up. It's looking good, forming some higher lows here and curling to the upside. Pretty sure the bottom's in, and we can be expecting upside. So with that being said, jumping into AMC, the macro, nothing has changed here. The green, red, and blue box that led up to the squeeze in January 2021 is what we're tracking here, except descending. It's the same thing. We're tracking it perfectly. The only difference is it's descending, and we are at the end of it. With that being said, jumping into this zoomed in now without the bars, here's my macro perspective up top. The green, red, and blue leading up to the squeeze here. The green, red, and blue that we're trading in currently, and then underneath, this blue box is shown here, and then this blue box right here is shown underneath right here. Mentioned this multiple times. You found your first bottom, your tri-peak which rejects resistance, your second bottom with a lower low, your uptrend that breaks you out of the macro, and your retest. Same thing over here. First bottom, tri-peak rejects resistance, second bottom, slightly lower low, uptrend that breaks you out, and now we're in the retest. So fractally speaking, we do not have much more to play out. I am almost 100% certain at this point the retest has confirmed and there will be no more downside. With that being said, we could be expecting to start climbing back up to a double top, slightly higher. More than likely it'll be around 650. From there we'll find this gap at the top of the tri-peak, and then from there we have a straight line into our squeeze. So fractally speaking, we are almost done playing out the macro. There's not much more left. With that being said, this climb back up to 650 more than likely is going to take some time. It's going to be very slow, very low volume, barcodey as we saw today. That's that. Now, exactly what I just showed you, the blue box, these are both the blue boxes I just showed you, except with a white background now. I feel like you could see it more clear here with the trend angles. I've touched on this multiple times as well. The trend angles of the blue boxes are the same. From the top of the blue box in the 2021 cycle, straight down over your tri-peak until where you find your breakout, minus 42 degrees. Over here, same thing, from the start of the blue box, rejecting the tri-peak, and then down to your breakout, minus 42 degrees, low to low, 176 in the 2021 cycle, 178 in this cycle. So, once again, first bottom, tri-peak rejects resistance, second bottom, slightly lower low, uptrend breaks you out of the macro, retest. First bottom, tri-peak rejects resistance, second bottom, slightly lower low, same trend angle, find an uptrend, breaks you out of the macro, and now we're in the retest. This looks very, very good. Really testing on this resistance here as support now, and it's holding up a few wicks below, but mostly we've been closing above, holding above this previous resistance, acting as support now, and we're now forming some higher lows. We have an uptrend going on here, and carving out a nice bottom here. This looks very good, very, very bullish. With that being said, jumping into the breakout and the retest on the micro now. This is on the 1 hour. The U pattern rejecting the resistance, as I've touched on. The rest of the price action that breaks you out above, and then pretty much battling, holding the macro resistance as support. And we have this micro resistance up top, pinching us into a descending wedge. Mentioned that as well. Reject here. Multiple breaks below the macro right here, but you reclaim, reject the micro multiple times here, again here, come back down, bounce off the macro, reject the micro, bounce off the macro, bounce off the macro, reject the micro, and then you finally break out of the micro. This is looking like an ascending triangle to me now, which is a bullish pattern. We're forming some higher lows now, pretty flat up top, but that's all right. We're forming higher lows. It looks like the bottom's in, and now we're in this ascending triangle. Which today we actually broke below, which I've seen this happen hundreds of times with ascending triangles. Usually what happens in an ascending triangle is the support and resistance is pretty much perfect until you get to the end where the support is meeting the resistance. You break below, and then you reclaim, and then break out to the upside. I've seen this happen multiple times on multiple different tickers. SPY is actually a perfect example of that. Where can I show this? Right here. Ascending triangle. As support is getting tighter to resistance towards the end, you break below, a fake out more or less, reclaim it, and then you break out to the upside. Perfect example right here. So that happens all the time with AMC as well as SPY. On macro and micro levels, the ascending triangle, more often times than not, it will break below the support towards the end and then reclaim and then break out to the upside. So this looks very good. This looks very bullish. We broke the micro resistance that we've been trading in for a month, holding on the macro resistance, acting as support now. A month of holding up on this. We finally broke the micro resistance that's been pinching us down for a month, broke it to the upside, and now we're in this ascending triangle, which is a bullish pattern, and it's getting pretty tight between support and resistance here. Can probably expect a breakout of this on Wednesday. So tomorrow you can maybe expect to be trading in this range here, very tight, very low volume barcoding once again. Potentially we break it tomorrow, or we could just trade sideways here pretty much all day, and then Wednesday we would break out to the upside. I mentioned that this move here, this retest, should theoretically play out symmetrically. With that being said, it's going to be a very boring, slow climb to the upside. Very low volume, very barcodey, pretty much playing this out exactly how we saw it to the downside, except we'd be playing it out to the upside now. This looks very good. This looks very bottomy here, forming some higher lows. I like the look of this. Held on the macro and broke out of the micro resistance, and now we are on this ascending triangle, forming higher lows. Looks very good. Very bullish here. Looks good. One more thing I want to touch on the daily. This retest looks fucking insane. Now, keep in mind, most of my trend lines are with extended hours. Without extended hours, you're pretty much losing half of the picture. So pretty much just been charting with extended hours, and so the trend lines are going to be a little bit distorted now on the daily, but still this breakout and the retest here looks very, very solid. Really holding up here. Only a few closes below this previous resistance, now acting as support. Found our first bottom there, curve back up, came back down, and then our second bottom, and then we have a hammer candle on the daily today. Looks bullish, looks very good. Curling up to the upside once again. Ascending triangle on the micro, hammer candle on the daily. This looks very good, very, very bullish. Pretty much nothing has changed. So that breakout that we saw in 2021, this breakout retest played out very symmetrically. I mentioned this multiple times. I'm expecting this to play out symmetrically. It's going to be very slow, very boring, pretty much exactly how we saw it to the downside. We could expect to see to the upside now. So it would play out something like this. The upside to 650. From there, you gap up, you get your macro fractal break, and that macro fractal break will take us to our squeeze, which is a straight line. I think that's pretty much it. No need to drag this video out. Another boring low volume day, but it looks good. Still holding on the macro support, broke out of the micro resistance to the upside, and we're forming some higher lows now. It looks very good. So that's pretty much it for the video. I'll catch you guys potentially tomorrow. I may not make a video tomorrow. This week is probably going to be relatively boring. I'm expecting to climb back up to around $5 this week for AMC. That $5 range, I'm expecting to make our way back up there, but on a daily basis, this is going to be a very boring climb to watch. Who knows, maybe I'll make a video anyway. I'll keep it short like I did this one. With that being said, I will catch you guys in the next one.